complete, good isnad. Or he is known to not mention his weak shuyukh, so he talks in a way that you can understand from him that he heard that shaykh. When he says an fulan, or Halim says an Hasan al-Kettani, and you tell him, did you hear him? He says, no. Where did he get that from? Well, I heard somebody who told me that he heard him. So, in this case, I heard somebody who saw him. If you mean to do that always, you will become a mudallis. But if you didn't mean to that, just you forgot or something like that, therefore, it is we reject your riwayah until you say, no, I heard him. We reject it, and we're going to show that inshallah in mudallis. So in mudallis, when he narrates by an'ana, we say no, we won't accept that from him. Why? Because maybe he put something there. Maybe he didn't hear his shaykh, it's cut. Maybe, there's a lot of maybes there. Wal-mubham, who has a rawi that is not known. Okay. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Al-mubham is somebody that is not known. He says here, mubhamun contains an unidentified narrator. Unidentified narrator. That means either that narrator there is not known. Rajul. The isnad says, so and so met a man and he told him so and so. This is, if it's in the isnad, who is this rajul? If we can search for other asanid and solve who is this guy, the problem is solved. But if we don't know him, he's rajul, a man. This man can be a liar. This man can be not trustworthy. This man can be somebody who doesn't memorize properly. There's a lot of things to say there. So in this case, how are we going to deal with this hadith? This hadith is weak. That's it. If there's somebody unknown, it's weak. This is if he's unknown, mubham. And this is mubham in the isnad. But if it's in the matn, is it da'if? No. In the matn, that's another story. Because when you say, جَاءَ رَجُلٌ إِلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, a man came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. Well, it doesn't matter. What are we focusing on? The man or the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم? Focusing on the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. If he said that somebody told the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, فقام رجل فقال يا رسول الله, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله كتب عليكم الحج فحجوا فقام رجل فقال يا رسول الله أفي كل عام. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah wrote on you that you had to perform Hajj. So a man said, O Messenger of Allah, is it every year? The Prophet ﷺ didn't reply. Every year, the Prophet ﷺ didn't reply. The third time he said, if I said yes, if I said, لو قلت نعم لوجبت. If I said yes, it'll be obligatory for you. دعوني ما تركتكم. Leave me when I don't tell you anything. Don't go and search. Sometimes students in the class have an examination. And a silly student comes up and the exam is what we studied. So the silly student comes up, sir, can I ask a question? Yeah, no problem. Are we supposed to memorize or just identify? Oh yeah, you have to memorize. So now what did this guy do? The teacher didn't ask people to memorize, but his question made the teacher tell them memorize. The Prophet ﷺ says, لو قلتها, if I said yes, it'll be obligatory. Do we have the opportunity to perform Hajj every year? We can't do that. قال لو قلتها لوجبت. And actually you won't do that. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ went so angry when he heard this. ثم قال إنما هلك من كان قبلكم بكثرة مسائلهم واختلافهم عن أنبيائهم. They used to have a lot of questions and then they don't obey their prophets and messengers. Then he says, وَكُلُّ مَا قَلَّتْ رِجَالُهُ عَلَى وَضِدُّهُ ذَاكَ الَّذِي نَزَلَ وَضِدُّهُ ذَاكَ الَّذِي نَزَلَ. Now we're talking about the Isnad al-Ali and Isnad al-Nazil. A hadith whose narrators are few is Ali, high. It's apostates in Nazil. Its opposite, sorry. Its opposite is Nazil. So every Isnad that it has few narrators is called Isnad Ali. Why is it Ali? Why is it Ali? Because it's high to the Prophet ﷺ. Let us imagine the Prophet ﷺ is here and we have narrators 1, 2, 3, 4. As long as the narrators are few, it's high. When the narrators are a lot, it's going to go down to reach us. Because the Prophet ﷺ is 1,400 years ago he died. Okay? So between us and him there are many narrators. If there are few, we say Isnad al-Ali. If they are a lot, we say Isnad Nazil. Okay, now Al-Ulu wal-Nuzul. Does it have anything to do with the hadith? What do you say? You said as if you said yes.
When there's shorter isnad, then less tendency for the hadith to be da'if.
That's okay. What about you? What do you think? If there are now al-adi is to the Prophet Nazil goes down. What do you think about that? Does this ulu or nuzul have anything to do with the authenticity of the hadith?
Yes.
Yes? Why?
Because the chain of narration we can
You can what? Brother Adib?
Every time there's another narrator, the chances of mistakes increase.
You didn't understand, you didn't answer my question. Hadith, Ali or Nazil, does that have anything to do with the authenticity? What do you think? Doesn't have anything to do with authenticity.
Something we have two of hadith of equal weight and one might be say the Ali is better.
Yes.
That's all,
But for the
other conditions, the hadith is good.
So for the other conditions, for this condition, it doesn't have anything to do with the authenticity. It's high or it's down. Some say, as more it's high, it contains few men. When it has few men, that means the opportunity to make mistakes is less. But when it's nazil, the opportunity or the expectation to make mistakes is actually big. But this is only saying, actually, when we see Isnad Ali or Nazil, we prefer Isnad Ali, of course, because it's less men. And Yahya ibn Ma'in, rahimahullah, used to, when he was dying, they told him, هل تتمنى شيئا? Do you want something? He said, أتمنى إسنادا عاليا ودخول الجنة. So he's desiring to have isnad ali and Allah to forgive his sins and make him enter Jannah. Yes, subhanAllah, some scholars went to listen to hadith, although he knows it, like Jabir ibn Abdullah when he went to Egypt to meet Abdullah ibn Unais, so that he can narrate for him hadith. He heard it a long time ago from the Prophet ﷺ, but he forgot. So Abdullah ibn Amr, Jabir ibn Abdullah, yeah, when he went to Muhammad, Abdullah ibn Unais, he narrated the hadith for him, although he knows it, so that he won't hesitate about it. It's more, actually, it's something that it is more to be sure about the hadith. It's for himself, because for us, for example, if we see the hadith, we can't search for hadith isnad ali or nazl because it's like that. But he is in the days that these things happen. So he went to the one who heard it from the Prophet ﷺ to hear it from him again. And this happens to us where? In the schools or in the universities. Somebody tells you that the Prophet ﷺ said so and so, and the master of can say something. So the Prophet ﷺ, wait a second. Yes. So he says something, so you go again to him to hear it with your ear. It's like when Ibrahim ﷺ told the Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَا وَلَكِنْ يَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. He wanted to see by his eyes the creation of Allah. So what did Allah order him to do? He told him, go and take 4 birds and slaughter them and then put them on every mountain. And then when that happens, ask them to come and you're going to see them going with each other. And that's the creation of Allah. This is ma'rifatul yaqeen and ilmul yaqeen. You heard that so-and-so told you that the Shaykh said so-and-so. This happens to us. For example, you say that the director said, be here 8 o'clock. I tell you, the director said, we have to be here 8 o'clock. I said, really? You go back to him and say, did you say we have to be here 8 o'clock? He says, oh yeah, I said that. Why did you say that? You're not saying that I'm lying, but you want to be more sure. قَالَ أَوْلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَى. Did you believe? He said, yes, I believe. But I want my heart to be calm now. قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ يَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Because the thing, when you see it by your eye, it's not like when somebody else tells you that thing. And when you hear it with your ear, it's not like when somebody else tells you something. Okay, is that clear? Everything is clear. Then وَكُلُّ مَا قَلَّتْ رِجَالُهُ عَلَى وَضِدُّ ذَاكَ الَّذِي نَزَلَ. So isnad al-ali actually is more the expectation of mistakes is less than isnad al-nazil. But anyway, when we want to judge the hadith, we go back to the rules that we talked about. So the hadith is ali or nazil, it's not a big deal. Muhammad bin Aslam al-Tusi says, one of the Imams, قُرْبُ الْإِسْنَادِ قُرْبَةٌ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Because you're more close to the Prophet ﷺ. And as more as you're close to the Prophet ﷺ, that's better. The Sahaba are the most closest ones to the Prophet ﷺ, right? That's why they are better than the others. And that's why their understanding to the hadith, to the meanings of the Prophet ﷺ are better than the tabi'een. The tabi'een are better than atba' tabi'een. So the more you're close to the source, the more you understand it and get influenced with it than the ones who come late or after, stay ages and ages and hear about it. And that's why the Sahaba are in a high rank, and that's why we honor them more than anybody else. Sahaba radiallahu anhum, we believe that they are human beings. They have mistakes, they can do something wrong, but we believe that they are the high rank. And subhanAllah, in our culture, when you want to say somebody's fantastic, he's mashallah something very good, you say mashallah, he's about to be he's like a sahabi. His face is shining like a sahabi. You say that in their culture? So actually, it's because we believe that the Sahaba are the best amongst all human beings after the prophets and messengers. Why? Because the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were close to the Prophet. And that's why I told you that the lectures here, when we are with each other, are more effective than when you can listen to me from abroad. You can listen to the Shaykh by the Wizik or by Skype or something. Well, you might sit down drinking your coffee, you might lay down on your back, you might go and come back. It's not like when you're sitting beside them, right? The children might come and bother you and disturb you. The net can cut and you won't hear properly. SubhanAllah, even the Shaykh's mood can affect you. Look, yesterday, SubhanAllah, the Shaykh that we met, when he rose up his hands to pray Allah, he felt emotion. It affected us. It affected us a lot. Why? Because we always seek to meet somebody who is better than us. And as more as we did it, there's a say that says that morals steal from each other. Sometimes when you sit down with somebody who makes some funny acts, keeps on tickling his face, keeps on going, when you go back home, you feel that you're doing like him. So the Prophet ﷺ says, مثل الجليس الصالح والجليس السوء كحامل المسك ونافخ الكير فحامل المسك إما أن يحذيك وإما أن تجد منه ريحا طيبا ونافخ الكير إما أن يحرق ثوبك وإما أن تجد منه ريحا خبيثا. The mates or the friend, مثل الجليس الصالح, the good one and the bad one are like two examples. The good one is like somebody who sells perfume or incense. At least when you sit beside them, you smell beautiful, beautiful smells. MashaAllah, this is musk. Ooh, MashaAllah, this is oud. MashaAllah, this is... And when you go out, or he could tell, Tfaddal, or put... So you go out, where were you? Oh, MashaAllah, you smell very beautiful. Well, I was with so-and-so. So you caught from him something. That's why as-salihun used to say, النظر في وجه فلان عبادة. There's a hadith, although it's a bit weak, النظر في وجه علي عبادة. It is true, sometimes when you look at somebody's face, it affects you. You feel, subhanAllah, you see. They used to say, for example, about Muhammad ibn Sirin, they say, when he enters the market, he used to sell and buy. Most of the ancient scholars used to have some jobs to live. So they say when he enters the souq, everybody starts praising Allah. His strong soul, his strong ruh, iman, starts giving, shining. So people start taking from it. SubhanAllah al-Azim. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah says about, he said, when I was young, I was a kid. He grew as an orphan. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi grew as an orphan. So he said, my auntie used to take me and put me in the masjid near one of the shuyukh. He used to give lectures. He said, Fulan al-Ammati. He said this shaykh used to give to recite the hadith, and he starts weeping. For example, he passes near hadith that talk about hellfire or hereafter or adhab al-qabr, or just talk about Allah or talk about the Prophet ﷺ. So he starts weeping. So he says that his weeping used to affect my heart more than what he's saying. His acts, his crying, his sharing tears used to affect me more than the things that he's saying, because I'm a child. So when he grew, he became wa'id al-afaq. Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, wa'id al-afaq, that means he used to give the preacher of the nations. The preacher of the nations. He used to give, imagine Ibn al-Jawzi rahimahullah, when he used to make his majlis in Baghdad, you have to go and search for your place a day before that. Put something there or sit down there, stay there. And when he finishes his lecture, his wa'd, his preaching, it's not a dars, it's a wa'd, it's a preaching. Many people start repenting from their bad acts. And many of the kuffar start converting Islam from his preach. That's why participating in a majlis of alim, or meeting him, or seeing him, it's something that we don't have to leave or to not pay attention to. Maybe when one sit in a place can affect you your whole life. You maybe can sit down in a lecture with a shaykh or meet a shaykh, and that would stay for you your whole life. It happened. Sometimes you take somebody with you to a lecture, and when he participates, he changes totally, and he becomes another guy. Doesn't that happen? It happens. So subhanallah al-azim, this is I just something gave something and something gave something. And the Arabs say al-hadith du shujun. That means it's like a branch of tree. Speech is like a branch of tree. A branch goes to a branch to a branch. And sometimes when you sit down and talk technically, you get bored and you just start getting tired. But when we start talking about stories, it resurrects us again. Talked about it. وَمَا أَضَفْتَهُ إِلَى الْأَصْحَابِ مِنْ قَوْلٍ وَفِعْلٍ فَهُوَ الْمَوْقُوفُ زُكٍ. What you attribute to the companions from a statement or action is mawquf, as it is known. So anything that is referred to the Sahabi is mawquf. To the Tabi'i is maqtur'. To the Prophet ﷺ is marfu'. Okay? وَمُرْسَلٌ مِّنْهُ الصَّحَابِيُّ سَقَطْ وَقُلْ غَرِيبٌ مَا رَوَى رَوٍ فَقَطْ. Let's stop here, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam.